Hello friends, it's Tom Swiss here with you once again, and it is a lazy Sunday here at the secret headquarters. Trying something different this time, a little bit different setup. We're experimenting with the recording hardware and software and whatnot. So this is my room. This is the bedroom here at the secret headquarters, and it's a little bit of an appropriate place to bring you today's episode because I want to talk to you about a dream that I had just this very morning. I do not usually remember my dreams, but every once in a while we get a real humdinger. This was one of a handful of dreams I've had over the years in which I don't know how else to say this, but in the context of the dream, not in real life. But what does that mean for real life? Anyway, within the context of the dream, I reached what I can only describe as a mystical experience, full-blown gonzo enlightenment within the dream. And it was also a dream within a dream, the sort of thing that leaves you the next morning with a sort of reality questioning hangover. But it's a mystical sort of hangover that isn't unpleasant at all. As you may see, I'm kind of reading this off of notes that I wrote up this morning so I wouldn't forget. And when I first typed those up, when I typed the word mystical, I mistyped mustical. I typed a U instead of a Y there. And that seems like a word worthy of saving for another time. Mustical. Sort of hints of musical, also musty in there, mushrooms, and mustard. So it's an interesting combination. We're going to put that word aside and save it for later. Now, as I tried to make up my notes, whenever you have a dream and you try to remember it, you try to write stuff down after awakening, it all fades around at the edges. But what I've managed to capture is that in the inner dream, I was undergoing some sort of training, and within the context of the dream within a dream, it made sense at the time, though as I relate it, you'll go, what the hell? It was some sort of martial arts and general super secret agent program. There was knife fighting. There was an emphasis on you had to cut rather than stab or slash, so that was very sensible. But somehow the whole thing was also an enforcement program for Google and IBM. I remember I was in an IBM office. You could see it was written on the windows. You could read from the inside, and we were training to enforce Google's terms of services. As I said, it made sense from within the dream. It is worth noting, for those who don't know my history, that the last full-time software job I had before I decided to downshift my career some years ago and do whatever strange combination of things that I do now to pay the bills, was actually at the IBM telephony lab in Annapolis. So, I don't know, some bit of that came back into this dream. Anyway, what was going on there, this martial arts super spy training program, also involved, you had to be cut. It was like Heidelberg drooling scars. There was something in there like I had to be cut on the face. And I can remember in the dream, the pain. I hear people say like, well, if you're dreaming, pinch yourself and you'll wake up. Like, my brain never got that note. I feel pain in dreams. I can very distinctly remember, and I won't go into what it felt like, but it was quite unpleasant within the dream. There was sharp and then dull pain, and it was a thing, but in the context of the dream, it was like, this was the ordeal path. This will make you strong. I can do this. Yeah, you can get through it. But there was also in the dream, at one point, a realization, I don't have to do this. This isn't what I want. Part of me wanted to go through the challenge. That was an attractive thing, but more of me just said, no, this isn't what I want. And I could change course. And there was one part of the dream, I was on an elevator, and I was going up in the elevator to the next part of my training. And instead, I pushed the button, and I remember in the dream, it was for floor 0. It wasn't for the ground floor. It wasn't for the first floor. It was for floor 0. And I didn't know if it would work, but it did. The elevator went down. I stepped off the elevator into the lobby and walked out of the building into the bright sunshine there, and the world was just beautiful. Oh, it was a pleasant spring or summer day. People were walking by, and I just loved them all. Just everybody. This great feeling of freedom and joy and happiness. And Well, here's where it starts to get interesting. Another man walks by me, going the other way, and he is me. In the dream, he is me. He doesn't look like me. In fact, he's a black guy. And in the dream, there was no thought of race about that. Obviously, retrospect, that's a little, what's going on there? But right now, I'm just reporting it, not trying to figure it out. The point is that he was me. And he was in the program. He would stay in while I leave. But he's me. So he/I will stay in while I/I leave. I get to do both. I, in that big cosmic unifying sense, get to do both. Because everybody I see is me. This is the realization in the dream. And it's a true realization, even if I'm not having it right now at this moment as I speak it to you. Everyone is me, and that means I get to do all the things. There's no fear of missing out because I, big cosmic I that unifies everything, will get to do everything. And in the dream, there was just this tremendous feeling of joy, the ecstasy of that revelation of no self, as the Buddhists would put it, though that term did not come to mind in the dream. And I was so filled with joy, I actually started to float up off the ground. So it was a flying dream too. And I'm flying around and I'm swooping and this complete joyful thing. And then I wake up. Oh, it was a dream. Oh, it was a beautiful enlightenment dream. Oh, wonderful. But it was still coloring my world. I closed my eyes and I would still see those psychedelic patterns, still feeling that psychedelic rush that you may have had if you've ever had that sort of experience out there. It was a cosmic orgasm at every chakra, man, all the way down, all the way up. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Physical, mentally, spiritually enlightened. I was giggle like a child or like an enlightened master. And I get up and I walk to the bathroom and I smile at myself in the mirror, and in the corner of my eye, I see someone. And I turn, and it's my housemate. Turn and say good morning to him, and it's not my housemate. Now, as I'm still cosmically buzzing from the psychedelic mystical revelations of this dream, this is not a problem. In real life, if I woke up and found a stranger in the house, it would be a problem. But again, here we are in the dream time. So this stranger's in my house, but he's familiar somehow. I can't quite place him. Maybe he's a former housemate, but he's also just awakening, and he's not hostile, and he's a little confused as I am. And I remember a few nights in my misspent youth waking up and not knowing exactly where I was. I've evened out my deal with Dionysus since then. This doesn't happen anymore. If it still happens to you, you might want to pause and consider. But I've been there, and so my heart goes out to him. In this space, the presence of a stranger in my home has provoked compassion rather than fear. That's nice. But no, he's not just waking up after a drunk. There's something deeper going on here. He knows me, but I don't know him, though he's a little familiar. Maybe he's somebody I met at a party once. But the dream echoes. He is me, in that big cosmic sense. And I don't know why he's come to me. And then he starts telling me he's been homeless for a week, and he broke in. And I look down the stairs, and there's a mess on the floor down there. There's a shattered window, and I start thinking about my home insurance and about getting this damage fixed. I tell him, oh, okay, I want to help because I'm still feeling this warm glow of cosmic compassion, but this is not okay. He can't stay here. And so I'm kind of wondering at that as the dream afterglow vibrates that whole he is me thing. But I also feel an echo of the sacred importance of boundaries, something that we've talked about before on the blog. There's a contradiction. It's a dilemma. But I'm optimistic. I don't know the answer, but we'll figure it out. Somehow we're going to swallow this dilemma. And then I wake up again. And so when I wake up, I'm soaked in that cosmic vibration of the inner dream that we all get to do everything because we're all everyone. And then that human concern of the outer dream of here I am in a comfortable situation, and here's this person suffering, and I give everything that I'm suffering to, but there's got to be a balance here. What's going on? So this is what I wake up soaked in those feelings, and also in that kind of suspicion of reality. It's like, well, I woke up, and I woke up again, and I'm wondering if this world also is going to melt, resolve, and form itself into a dew. I was doing a lot of political posting on the Twitter and the Facebook last night, and maybe that kind of primed my brain a little bit, because I'm thinking of the Bernie Sanders campaign slogan, "Not me, us." And I'm thinking of it maybe with a little bit more of a mystical angle on it, because, the Buddha taught us that cosmically there is not a me. There is no me. Self, no self, and Atman. So there's no fear, there's no death, there's no self to die, and there's no missing out. There's no worries and no cause for worries. But here we are on this planet with all these other me's, to pluralize the singular, each of us capable of suffering, a suffering that is our suffering. The other person's suffering is our suffering in a very real way. And so, what to do? Now, as I let that question settle into the echo of this dream, as I let not the cosmic plural I, not the I of the dream, but the I sitting here, here now, there's sort of a Taoist whisper that comes to mind about, what do we do about all this? What do we do about the suffering world? This Taoist whisper that reminds us that what's wu-wei-ish? Wu-wei is effortless action. That the answer is not some grand plan to change the world, but what we need is something more quiet, something more yin, the yin revolution that Carrie Thornley spoke of in Zenarchy. The idea that universal enlightenment is the prerequisite for the abolition of the state. It's that we need to hear all those plural me's out there, hear that echo also, feel that feeling. That means all those me's out there in Make America Great Again hats, and in Antifa masks, and those people who have done terrible, awful things, the thieves, the murderers, the really bad poets, the people who don't take their earbuds out when they order coffee at the cafe to talk to the barista. Even those people, they are me too. And they could hear that echo. They could feel that lightening of the heart. And now, just to get a little silly, if every heart in the world would lighten just an ounce, that is 219,000 tons relieved. You take those 7 billion hearts, multiply them by an ounce. That is the weight that is relieved from that. So I went and I Googled, as I was following this odd train of thought down. I went and I Googled, and I went to Google, how does that weight compare to the weight of a mountain? And by the way, it's tiny in comparison. But I tripped across a Buddhist essay by Thanissaro Bhikkhu. I'm probably heartlessly mispronouncing his name. I'm sorry. But he quotes one of his teachers and says, "Is a mountain heavy? It may be heavy in and of itself, but as long as we don't try to lift it up, it won't be heavy for us." This is a metaphor that one of my teachers, Ajahn Suwat, often used when explaining how to stop suffering from the problems of life. You don't deny their existence. The mountains are heavy, and you don't run away from them. As he would further explain, you deal with problems where you have to and solve them where you can. You simply learn how not to carry them around. So I tell you what, if this dream guided me to nothing else but that, then it was a night well spent. But I want to take a little further here, go one step beyond, and I want to imagine not the weight of that 219,000 tons, but what happens if we let it go? If we lightened each of those 7 billion hearts by just 1 ounce, well, what happens to all that mass, right? We're going to have to convert it to energy. good old E equals mc squared, right? That matter becomes energy. And my quick calculations indicate that if we lightened every human heart by just 1 ounce, converted that matter to energy, we could power human civilization for over 30,000 years, my friends. Now, if my physics teachers or my poetry teachers should hear that, I'm sure they would all go raise the eyebrows at that metaphor. But I think it's solid, because whatever the answer to this great dilemma is, we'll be able to recognize it by its quality of lightness, by its bringing energy. Lightness bringing light. So that's the revelation from the sleeping quarters here at the secret headquarters for today. I hope that it makes some sense to you. I'm not sure if it will still make sense to me tomorrow, because that's the way that dreams are, but we shall see. So thank you very much for your kind attention. I am Tom Swiss, and I will see you next time.